Welcome to the Corporate Venturing Insider Series, where I interview top practitioners in the CVC world and learn with you the best practices and golden nuggets that they have accumulated over their career. In this episode, we will be learning from Peter Wozny, Senior Counsel at BTomorrow Ventures. Peter, could you take a few minutes to share your story and how you got to where you are today?
Hi, thanks for having me. And thanks for letting me join your Corporate Venturing Insider Series. So I'm not your typical candidate for this. So I'm a lawyer in BTomorrow Ventures. So my background is legal. So I started life working in private practice in law firms. I did my first 3 years with Freshfields, which is an international UK-based working in their Moscow office in Russia. I did that for 3 years. I then moved back to London, where I'm living at the moment, and I was working with Brown Rudnick LLP, which is a US-based law firm. And with them, I really focused my career on corporate law, working with different companies. And then as my career progressed and I got more senior, I focused more on private equity and venture capital. And on the venture capital side, working both investor side and company side. So it really gave me an insight of working closely with the entrepreneurs and why the investors are making those investments into those companies, but giving me a good legal framework. And then I did a couple of secondments in-house, really opened my eyes to moving in-house later on in my career. And then after a good 7 years at Brown Rudnick, I then got amazing opportunity to join BTomorrow Ventures, which is the corporate venture capital arm of BAT, to start their journey and help shape the legal team of BTV. And I've been with BTV now for 3 years and absolutely loving it.
So let me double click on the strategic value or the strategic work. Here you joined BTV. So I'm going to say BTV because you also said BTV. So you joined BTV at the very beginning, which means you probably had a good influence on the strategic, including the fund's investment strategy. So can you talk about how it started and what was your influence and how your background helped to shape the investment strategy?
I think maybe take a step back first and look at the corporate. BAT is British American Tobacco, international FTSE 10 company focused it's big tobaccos. It has all of its big combustible brands like Pall Mall, Lucky Strike, Dunhill. More recently, it's moved into its new category products, vaping. It's got Views as its brand in heated tobacco. But BAT is on a mission to build a better tomorrow. Sees that nicotine sales are declining around the world and it's facing challenges in the market, not just in terms of sales, but tougher regulation and also the consumers wanting to avoid the health risks and get something else out of these products. Is on a transformational journey at the moment. It's still focusing in these in the combustibles market, but it's finding these new spaces where it can entertain and enhance the consumer need states. So with this, it's building a multi-category portfolio in different spaces and looking at products that can stimulate the senses of adult consumers. So that's where BTV steps. BTV has brought in kind of experts in this. It's looking beyond nicotine so it can do a test and play in the market. So it can make minority stake investments across the globe in all these different sectors, looking at kind of food and beverage and the food and beverage space, but that have a functionality aspect to them. We've been making investments in caffeinated chocolate bars or CBD cannabis related products, looking at other actives like nootropics, adaptogens, melatonin to help relax the consumer. So there's quite a big space here where we're doing a test and play, making multiple investments in this space to help transform BAT and build its better tomorrow strategy. So that's one side of BTV where we're helping transform BAT. The other way is capability investments where we're looking at existing processes that BAT are doing and then finding innovative startups where we can help enhance these processes. So as an example, looking at supply chain, ways we can improve the supply chain within the corporate, looking at ESG, making BAT a more sustainable way of running its business, whether it's better packaging, sourcing more sustainable materials and products. So it's a fun place to be. Doing a lot of work in the new sciences space, new technology, new vaping technologies. So we have a very broad investment remit, and being there from the very start, BTV's journey, we've been building the relationship with BAT as our corporate, and then also the startups, and then finding ways we can help collaborate and bring the startups and the corporate together to help push the startups for growth, but also transform BAT.
Very nice. So actually one golden nugget already, that you have a dual mission. You have the mission of going beyond nicotine, transforming BAT about what's not today, but what could be tomorrow. And maybe that's where the naming comes. And then you're also looking at improving the current processes and maybe, like you said, new type of packaging and so on. How do you, along this dual strategy in a way, or dual mission, how do you handle balancing the two well? Is it different team members? Is it the same team members, but different KPIs? How do you work this out?
So when we launched just over 3 years ago, we had a fund set up, which was £150 million, and it was a very broad investment unit. This is the first venture unit for BAT. But now we're slowly working on setting up Fund 2, and we're focusing on a few more key areas, mostly in this well-being and stimulation space, but then also having a separate focus on sustainability. And that's where we're seeing our portfolio being, or our pipeline being a bit more narrowed and focused. Whereas Fund 1 was a bit more broad and generic and just testing the market and seeing what works well. But ultimately, I think for a successful CVC, you need to maintain broad capabilities. Otherwise, you might shoehorn yourself into one area. And we all know that CVCs do have a short lifespan, and the strategic goal of the corporate might shift, and then you don't want to be left in a tight spot.
I see. So I think it's interesting because you're talking about the balance of being too focused, like your Fund 2 is going to have a very clear focus, but you don't want to be shoehorned. Now, I want to double click also about portfolio management, because now you're 3 years old, you have 24 portfolio companies. Some of them are 3 years into your journey. How are you building the team for that? And how do you make sure that you bring the value, the strategic value, and you extract some of that strategic value also?
Yeah. At the start of BTV, we had something called BTomorrow Labs, which was our accelerator program to help build a platform to bring in startups into BTV's ecosystem. We ran a number of different accelerator programs across different spaces, whether it's beverages, food companies, whether it's in science or ESG. And you run different cohorts, and then we identified how we could work with those companies and help them grow and expand. And then it gave those companies kind of realization, actually, BTV's a good partner to work with, agreed to get investment by them. Because to begin with, we had no reputation in the market to make any sort of investments into these spaces. So we had to bring in and persuade them and show them that BAT can help spur this innovation and growth for the startups. Now, over time, we've built a reputation in the market, and we built the labs programs to manage and maintain support to our portfolio companies. So maintaining that they're being linked with different markets within BAT, where we can utilize BAT's strength to help grow and support the companies, where we can utilize experience within BTV, whether it's helping financially from my side, from legally looking at ways we can perhaps create good legal templates for the company, put in good governance, making sure they're abiding things from a regulatory perspective. And when they grow, they need to make sure they're ticking all these boxes. Otherwise, they'll be scrutinized when they get bigger. And so it's building all and supporting all the companies in all these different sectors as part of our portfolio management.
Nice. So I didn't know about the lab accelerator. So was it something you started just for external startups, or also for internal projects?
It was predominantly for external startups, and we're still running a few of those programs, but it's also being utilized for portfolio management as well now. It's a nice way to see how CVCs adapt and grow within themselves as their portfolio grows and they're expanding into new spaces.
So I feel like it's a golden nugget here, which is to kickstart you have this accelerator, which gives you some credibility and therefore reputation over time. But it's also a lot of work. Now let's touch about something which is governance. How do you think about governance for a CVC?
First place, we've touched on it, is reputations. You need to ensure you've got good governance in place to not impact the reputation of the venture unit, but also BAT or your corporate, because your corporate is often listed on the stock market. Any kind of fluctuations could impact share price, and impact the share price is bad and will negatively reflect on the venture unit. Another side is managing your senior stakeholders well and ensuring alignment strategically. So we've got our investment committee, and the steering investment committee approves the smaller size deals, and the steering committee, which has got more senior BAT people sitting on there, manages the direction and the strategy of where BTV is headed, and also the big ticket investments. Another aspect from governance, which I think is very important, is ensuring the decisions are made precisely. So following your governance rules, your investment guide, if you've got one in place, making sure the minutes are properly recorded, you holding people accountable for decisions that are being made. And then from a regulatory perspective, which is quite important for BATs, making sure that you're adhering to all necessary changes or rules that are set out in the jurisdictions you're operating. And being a global CVC, there's a lot of rules we have to adhere to. So it's keeping in touch with all of our kind of experts and advisors across the globe in the different jurisdictions, and making sure that not just the portfolio companies continue to act well, but also us as a corporate.
Do you have any tip for the audience about governance? Something that was not obvious, but you got a lot of value by implementing it?
I would say is having good minutes for all the meetings that you're having. It's quite painful sitting and typing out all the minutes when you've got different internal alignment teams deciding things. But when you've got the minutes in place, you can hold people accountable for it. So if decisions are being made by the corporate to support this startup and help them expand in this market, then you can be in the minutes and you can tell them, look, you said this a couple of weeks ago and you haven't done anything.
A clear golden nugget, and I'm sure sometimes it's not a few weeks, but a few months ago, and it's really minutes.
There's so much going on within corporates that makes sure people are reminded of what they promised to do.
Absolutely. Peter, I want to now move on to a topic of great importance, and I know it's important for you, which is DEI. At very high level, first, how do you think about this topic?
So I think it's important for VCs and CVCs to engage in DEI, especially the international CVCs, because you've got a portfolio of companies across the globe, and different countries have different kind of attitudes towards D&I. But you have a position of power where you can encourage your companies to adopt certain policies, how they treat their employees and how they treat their customers from a fair and equitable stance. At BTV, we approach this in a few different areas. One way in the internal policies that we have, making sure that they reflect good DEI processes, the way we recruit people into the team, applying like unconscious bias. When you're looking at CVs, asking the recruiter to strip out kind of anything which can indicate whether they're female, what their sexual orientation is, what their race is. So you're hiring people purely on them being good at their job, not who they are. I'm looking at rolling out DEI training processes to your team and your portfolio. So portfolio management comes into play as well, but also looking at pipeline, working with your investment team and how to build an unbiased pipeline and a diverse pipeline, helping support female founders or founders from ethnic minorities. It just brings much more productivity, creativity to the fund, and ultimately better results from collaboration with your corporate, which in our case is a global corporate covering all different jurisdictions and communities and races, and then on the other side, just building, supporting those companies.
Very nice. And this is mostly what you describe is mostly the D of DEI on the diversity front.
Yeah.
Any tip on the diversity side that you want to share that maybe is not obvious, but really worth doing?
So we monitor our portfolio companies and collect all the data, which we find really interesting. Looking at the analytics of your portfolio companies. So we circulate, and this isn't compulsory, it's a voluntary set of questions we circulate to the companies, which ask them, do they have any female founders or female board directors? What are they doing in terms of their D&I strategy? What policies have they put in place? And then we can really utilize that data to help us focus or see where we can grow and expand our capabilities and support. For example, not many female directors on the boards. Maybe it's our place to start placing non-executive directors who are female or from diverse backgrounds onto those boards to help them.
Peter, I want to now move on to a topic of great importance. So let's say the mothership decides to create a new product which happens to do what the portfolio company is doing. But sometimes it's perception of conflict of interest, how it's perceived by the startup. So how do you handle this case where it's not quite black and white?
Well, you can only use what publicly available knowledge that you're sharing. If the corporate has released a product that is competing with the startup, you can obviously tell the startup, this is what the corporate has done. It's launched this product in this market and it directly competes with you. But if it's sensitive information that the corporate is looking to launch in this market, hasn't done so yet, you can't share that information with the startup. And vice versa. That can't be done either. Is the startup is looking to launch in other markets which could end up ultimately competing with the corporate. So it's a very delicate place. It's a very delicate sector which you need to manage carefully. And any conflicts which come to light could really damage the reputation of the corporate. So you need to take it seriously as a CVC. And a lot you see, and ultimately do and face kind of competition and conflict issues.
And I'm sure it will, it happens all the time for CVCs. And that's why I'm trying to do maybe a test. It may not be what you're doing, but let's say that you're investing in a startup, which was completely synergistic. But at some point you learn from the mothership, they're planning to do something similar. It's confidential information and it's not going to be released for the next 2 years, but it's going to be released in 2 years' time. How do you handle the actions to be different towards a startup, which you cannot share this information with?
You can't change your action with the startup because that's the information that is competitive value to the startup or vice versa. You just need you understand what's happening, but you need to bury those information and not share it with the other side or use that information to deviate the startup or the corporate into a different area.
Okay. I think that's already a golden nugget, which is don't act like if nothing was changing on the mothership, but of course, document everything, the Chinese wall in place and everything to protect yourself.
Exactly.
Very good. Now I want to move to what you call the ESG Battle of Minds. Tell me more.
So Battle of Minds is a competition that BAT set up a number of years ago that finds students and graduates across the globe with innovative business ideas and then to pitch those ideas to BAT and then ultimately find a winner, and that wins a investment or like a cash injection of £50,000 and kind of recruit and job opportunities as well with BAT. Over the years, developed and grown where BTV has stepped in to support and sponsor the competition. And this continues to be a global competition, but the investments that come through, or the companies that come through and the ideas that come through Battle of Minds, they get supported by BTV once they're the winner. So the recent winner from 2022, we've just closed an exciting investment with them following the prize money they got from the Battle of Minds. And it's a completely global competition. So we get applicants, whether they're from Bangladesh, from Indonesia, was the winner from 2021, the US, to South America, the UK, all across Europe. So it's a really exciting competition to be a part of.
Is that awards money? Is that engaging with the BAT? Is it equity?
So at the moment, the prize money is seen as like a gift as a prize. We'll see if that works going forward. But the winner from last year, we thought they did so well that we've made an additional investment into the company's equity. Battle of Minds is all focused around ESG. So we set specific challenges each year that the candidates have to come up with these ideas. It brings a lot of innovation into the pipeline, and also working with these kind of graduates and students is also quite rewarding.
So with the value it brings to BTV, is that something where you're involved, you're part of the jury, you're part of the process, or is it independent?
So we've got someone from BTV as on the global final judge, but then we're also they're partnering with BAT on deciding what the topics are for the competition, ways we can help run a few programs for the contestants. So they go through different stages. They start on country scale. The winners of the countries then go to regional, they'll go to a regional final, and then there's a global final. When we have a group of finalists, we will then take them and put them through a short accelerator program where we can build their pitch skills, help refine their ideas. And we're working with an external party as well to roll out that training. And then it comes to the grand final where hopefully all their pitches are even more polished, and we get a really exciting kind of 10 to 12 companies that are pitching towards us, and we get to choose the winner from.
I like it because you can even mention that some of the winners may receive investments from BTV.
Exactly. We've had one winner so far that's received investment, but we're also keeping eyes on not just the winners, but the runners up that come through. They also get prizes in the competition. So the next grand final for Battle of Minds will be in about a month's time. So we're excited to see who's going to be the winner of that.
I think you're giving me an idea I never had before. So I will definitively think about it. Peter, thank you for your time today and sharing your best practices and the journey of you and BTV. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for having me.